Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. If you're new here, I'm Marilyn, and if you're returning, thanks so much for coming back. I recently had a company reach out to me and ask me if I would like to try one of their products. When I looked at it online, I honestly thought it had very little chance that it was going to do what it said it did. Well, I was pleasantly surprised that it actually did. I'm going to freeze the screen here so we can talk. I was so excited to make this video after printing a couple of sample pieces on some black t-shirt fabric because I thought the results were very impressive. My experience changed a bit though through making this video. Keep watching to see what happened. Do you remember a couple of years ago or so when a lot of us were doing the DTF sublimation hack? This is not that, but it is somewhat similar. With the DTF sublimation hack, a big limitation was you could only put it on light colored fabrics. With this product, we're going to put it on a black cotton t-shirt. If you're interested in seeing how this works out, stick around because we're getting ready to get started right now. Here's the two products that I'm going to use in today's video. Now before I show you these, let's have a little talk about what these are going to do. To understand what these are going to do, we're going to talk about DTF printers. So a DTF printer, which DTF stands for direct to film, a DTF printer prints directly on some film. Then you put this adhesive powder on the back of the ink. It sticks to the ink. You put it under a heat source. It cures it, meaning the powder kind of melts onto the ink and then it solidifies. That's what's going to allow you to put the printed design onto a garment. This is very similar, but we're going to use this on just your basic old inkjet printer. For today's video, I'm using an Epson EcoTank 2803, which is just about the least expensive EcoTank printer that I could find when I was in the market for an inkjet printer. The beauty of these products, in theory, we're going to see how this all comes together, plus we need to do a wash test. But the beauty of these products is you don't need to buy that expensive DTF printer, which can be well over $2,000. With all that said, let's take a look at what we have here. So we're going to start with this DTF film. Notice this is 8.3 inches by 11.7 inches, so it's not your regular letter size paper, but most printers do have a setting for this size of paper. If yours doesn't, you can always add a custom setting. Now, I talked about the DTF sublimation hack that so many of us did a couple years ago. The biggest issue with that was not only could you not put it on dark fabric, but just trying to get the film to successfully go through your printer could be a chore. I don't know why no one thought about this before, but this film comes with this, what it calls a sticky printing pad. I rolled back the covering from it, and then I just cut part of it off so that I can keep this nice and clean. For now, what I've been doing is I've been adding my film to this end. Well, let me just show you. Let me get a piece of film out of here. Notice it says print side up. That is helpful. Okay, so this is our print side. So I'm going to put the back of the film down on this sticky pad. And then we'll just adhere it on there. It comes off very easily, but this is enough for this to feed through my printer very easily. You'll see that in a few minutes. Now the other product that I'm using is this magic powder. Notice it says transfer powder for dark fabric. This is very different than your traditional DTF powder. So the powder that you use with a DTF printer, or even the powder that I used with the sublimation DTF hack, or the DTF sublimation hack, whatever it was called. This powder is white, and once you press it, it stays white. That white background under your ink is what makes it where you can use your basic inkjet printer with this powder on a black cotton t-shirt. All right, you'll see more about this when I actually use it. One thing they sent to me that I'm not using is actually some new inkjet ink. And I don't like to mix my inks, so at this point I'm not willing to put this ink into my inkjet printer. I have plenty of ink in there, and I really wanted to see how well did this work with the ink that I have. So for now, I'm not going to use that ink. So a few other things that I'll use. I'm going to use this respirator mask. This is just for safety. I don't want to breathe in anything from this DTF powder. I'm going to use this all cotton black t-shirt. I'm going to use this Teflon sheet. Now with true DTF images, I use parchment paper instead, but their instructions said to use a Teflon sheet, so that's what I'll do. Like I talked about earlier, I'm going to use my Epson EcoTank 2803 printer, and then I'm going to use a design that I believe I probably found on Creative Fabrica. Then I also need to use a heat source because you melt the magic powder onto the back of your ink. That gives it a nice white foundation for the ink, and it allows it so that your design will stick to your fabric. I have older videos when I was doing the sublimation DTF hack where I melted that DTF powder by holding it under a heat press. Then I also did a video where I actually had a Cricut Easy Press upside down and I had it laying on that Cricut Easy Press. That was something that I learned from Crystal Ann, if you're familiar with her, a big YouTuber. I happen to have a DTF printer, so I have a DTF oven, so for convenience sake today, I'll use that. Then when it's time to add my design to my shirt, I'll use a heat press. Let's jump on the computer, check out my design, and then I'm going to show you how this goes through my printer really easily. I'm going to print my design in Inkscape today. Inkscape's a free design software, and I always feel like I get really good colors when I print from it. To print this, I can go right up here to File, Print, or I can do the print shortcut on my keyboard. And I am using this Epson EcoTank 2800 series printer. It's actually a 2803, but it's part of the 2800 series. So I'll click on that, and then let's just make sure that everything looks fine. That does. I don't usually look at rendering or job. I look at color to make sure it's going to print in color, and then I'm going to go ahead and change this to high quality. Then I just click right here, and let's watch this print out. My design's printing out, and with this ink, it dries faster than typical DTF ink. So I'm going to go ahead and put my mask on, get ready to work on it, and actually I just finished printing. Let me go ahead and put this on, grab my design, and we're going to powder the back of it. Now here's my design, and you can see I have excess powder here and here. I don't really see any of the pizza wheel marks on this, or the roller marks, but I'm going to cut this excess area away. If I were to press this the way it is, this extra powder would show up on my shirt because it's a white base. Let's go ahead and add this to my shirt. Now, I already pre-pressed my shirt earlier. Otherwise, I would do that just to remove any moisture. And looks like I need to lint roll this. Let me grab my lint roller and then a little bit of heat-resistant tape. When I press this, I'm going to press it twice. So I'll press it with the film on the back of it once, and that press will be at 320 degrees for 20 seconds. Then I'm going to let it cool all the way off, peel that film off, and then I'll do a repress, still at 320 degrees, but just for 15 seconds. And that's when I'm supposed to use the Teflon sheet with it. All right, that looks pretty good. Now this does not look as nice as my first two designs that I did. I'm curious to see how this will turn out. I'm just using enough heat-resistant tape to get it to my heat press. Now I need to let this cool off, and to help it cool off more quickly, I'm just going to flip it over, have it on my cool table. Well, let me see if that's going to come off. All right, it is coming off. Now we're going to press this again. Now I am noticing that this did not turn out nearly as nice as my samples. Let me show you one of them. I thought this one turned out much nicer. Now you see those pizza wheel marks I was talking about? If I would have had those on this, what I would have done is I would have scraped them away after I cured it, because that's easier to do than before you cure it. But I would have scraped away the excess ink with the powder on the back of it. But I think that one looks a lot better than this one. This one that's pretty sparse. Let's go ahead and press it the second time like you're supposed to do though. So here it is after the second pressing, and if you are going for a really rustic look, it looks okay. I'm not too thrilled with it. I was very thrilled after I got those results. I'm just not too thrilled with this. And I powdered this as soon as it came out of the printer before it had time to dry. I also used that high print setting, which would have had more ink on it than the normal setting. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until my next video, bye-bye. I wanted to come back and show you the difference between my first sample and the same design after I washed it. Now, I didn't mirror this one and I mirrored this one or vice versa, but look how different the colors look. This was before I washed it, this was after I washed it, and you can see that a lot of that color really faded out of there. Now, would this have made any difference if I would have used the ink that they sent me? I don't know, but I'm not ready to turn my inkjet printer into a dedicated printer for this type of thing. If you try this product or you've tried this product, let me know what you think.